Oh, hi. Hi. I see some new faces in here. Hi, guys. Hi. Hello. Ornix for the first message, but not claiming first. Who else? Who else was here? How do you say this name? Neapoliona. Hi. Hi, Leona. Welcome in. Hi. And Hypersonic. Hi. Oh, we got a smooch. Mwah. And Rin Moko. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. Moko. I can't call you Rin because that's me. So, sorry. I was here first. Anyway. Hi. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. I'm still laughing my ass off at that one guy who got really mad about it. French. Actually, are you French? One for you too, Ornix. Hi guys. I have a lot of followers I need to thank. Give me a second. Oh my god, who all followed? I'm gonna be honest. You guys that are here now because of a certain post that I made on Sunday. Hi, welcome in. Enjoy. But Napoleona, thank you for the follow. Revober, hello, welcome in. Ruse, thank you. Rinmoko, hello. Zero Dark Hades, hi. Hi Hypersonic, I said you again, hi. Jacob Watts, hello. There's one more. Who are you? Not fun. Not. Leona, I need you to relax. I'm going in fucking order. There's a list. Rah! I was off my desk getting some water when you subbed, so I kind of halfway missed it until I saw giant orange text on my Mix It Up that, hey, there's a new sub. And I'm like, who the fuck sub? There's an order? Yeah, the pecking order. Or I guess pecker order? Anyway. Hi, Pecunia. Nah, my ex chilled. Anyway. I'm Peck. Exactly. Looks like I'm on the top of the pecking order. No, that's me. Sorry. You guys are all under. What was I gonna say? For Leona's sake, at least there's not 7 of them, and they're not evil. Sorry, that's a really stupid Scott Pilgrim reference. Anyway, how you guys doing? There's a lot of you guys here, and I just started. We call those bottoms? No, I'm the bottom. I'm just taller than you guys, so like, pretty obvious. You guys are gonna be looking down on me, or I'm gonna be looking down on you. You're gonna be looking up at me. That's the word. Shut up. But anyway, how you guys doing? It's a Wednesday. I look up at you, not looked up to me. Okay, anyway. Let's see. What happened for me this week? I did a lot of work this week. And by work, I mean like work. I want to stream this couple of crazy games. Ooh, that could be fun. That could actually be really fun. I've never played them either. I watched the movie, and that's it. Never watched or read any of the comics, never played any of the games, none of that. But yeah, that'd be fun, honestly. Hump Me Day. It is, in fact, Hump Me Day. Ever heard of River City Girls? I have. I've actually played the first one. I think I technically 100%ed it. Because isn't 100% just getting the like idol statues or whatever bullshit? I've not played the second one. Apparently people did not like the second one as much as the first. I might play it still, but I haven't. Also, how's the music, by the way? It feels a little loud in my ear, but if it's okay, then we're good. Looking up at Dragon Boobs, yes. Remember, guys, I still want to first look if I can find it myself to create it, but if not, I'm gonna commission somebody to recreate the Dragon Ball Z text, or I guess Dragon Ball. Either one. Or even, oh hell no, Dragon Ball Super might work too. And instead of Dragon Ball, it says Dragon Boob or Dragon Boobs. So it's either Dragon Boob Z, or Dragon Boob Super. Maybe, what do you think, Dragon Boob GT? That one sounds like a car. For both Henry, nice to meet me. Hi, yes, it's nice to meet me. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I did a lot of work at work. I also did a lot of work for stream, but it's not actually up. One of you babyfied like, ooh, oh wait, GT great tits, wait, oh my god, that's genius. Vicuña, you're kind of cooking. I think GT works. I think GT actually works. Boob Z also works as like the Z as the S. That could work. Or it could be Dragon Boob Fighters, where, you know, the people fighting are fighting over the boobs. Always cooking? Absolutely, you're a chef. Super boobs. That's... Would that be me but pink? Just straight up pink, because it's like boo but boobs? How many dragon boobs do I need to have my wish granted? I mean, there's a lot of dragon boobs out in the universe, but there's... Hello? Hello? But there's only 2 of mine, so like, I guess technically just 2? How'd you fall for that? Because I'm a genius, and I know how to do sound alerts perfectly. I'll get my wish granted, yeah. What was I gonna say? I have a lot of things planned for stream that just aren't ready yet. Since you guys are here, I'll give you guys a little preview. For those of you that are new, you're gonna learn things that you literally didn't know, but congrats, you're gonna be the first people to hear about it. The art that we voted for in my Discord, the, let's say, freaky art, the commission has been put in, and I'm just waiting back to hear more about it. I love this song. Art, yes. So for those of you that are not privy to any Rin lore, last year I did a donathon, subathon, whatever you want to call it, where one of the rewards was the chat picking a idea, I guess, technically, of both safe for work and not safe for work art. And I already put in the request for the not safe for work art. The safe for work art's already done. You're already halfway there. Since you're there, do remember you got some rules to read through. Please click on the rules that are going to be in there. There's a little reaction you got to click on before you can actually get access to the rest of the server for any of you guys coming in. What else? Besides that, another big thing that I actually want to mention is, if you guys remember, those of you that are new, if you guys remember, I've been talking about how I've been wanting to get, like, Beastkin Rin going, like finding someone to make like some kind of a reference for Beastkin Rin. I may have found somebody over the weekend, and it's already in production. So whenever that's done, you guys might see that. Antler art, yeah. Trust me, I think it looks good. Obviously it's just gonna be a reference, so I can use that forever for other pieces. And lastly, the big news that the big news that I actually wanted to share this week. I got in touch with Jupiter, the person who, you know, rigged my model, and there may or may not be plans for a new outfit. in the works as of like 2 days ago. So whenever that's done, we might do a new debut. I don't know when. Outfit? Yeah, huh? But yeah, that's coming up sometime. Honestly, I do kind of want to do it for my birthday like I did last year, but it's not, you know, it's probably not gonna be a guarantee at that point. But so yeah, so whenever that's done, we're gonna have a nice little sorry, I'm getting some burps out of the way. We'll have a nice little debut for it. What else? Want to do that too? And then when I got done a month later than my birthday, yeah. I absolutely planned for my new model to be done on my birthday, so that actually worked last year. And then this year, I wanted to get it done by my birthday, which for those of you who don't know, it's in about 2 months. I see City with that Loki cursed. Yeah, I wish this playlist had the lyrics version, but I do understand why it's not. This is a quote-unquote stream playlist, so like not having lyrics is like the way to go, obviously, so they don't get drowned out by, you know, your words don't get drowned out by lyrics. What else? Well, yeah, unfortunately, the work with the artist that was working with my model took a little bit longer than I expected it to, so yeah, it might not get done by then, but whenever I do, we'll do a little debut for it. We will see, we will find out. Yeah, so look forward to sometime this year seeing a debut announcement. What else? Talked about the art, talked about the Anthro reference that I'm getting done, talked about the new outfit that's on the way. Anything else that I needed to bring up today? I don't think so, but you guys are welcome to ask questions, especially the new people. You guys can feel free to, you know, shop around, ask questions, see if the stream vibes with you. What else? No, that's pretty much it. Oh, also, somebody bought me some candy from my throne and they arrived today. They're like kiwi gummies from Japan, and they're fucking tasty. They're delicious. But besides that, we're just gonna play Mario Galaxy today. Surprisingly, I've never played Mario Galaxy. If you'll believe that, the big, you know, the big Nintendo girly, me, has not played Super Mario Galaxy. Yes, it's true. Somehow I've played Super Mario Galaxy 2 100%, and I've never touched the first one. I don't know why. They turned New Zealanders into candies and ate them. I'm not into vor, but sure. I do have a friend that's a vor VTuber, and by vor I just mean they're a giant, and people assume they're into vor because they're a giant. Because they're called Kiwis. Are New Zealanders actually called Kiwis? I thought they're called... No, that's... I'm so dumb. I was gonna say Australians. It's because Australians are fucking Aussies, of course. Well, I'm assuming the national animal of New Zealand must be a Kiwi in that case. Sorry, I'm getting a text from somebody. Prefer little kids than a full voring. I mean, yeah, I'm never gonna eat somebody. Pause. Anyway, should we get to gaming? I think we should get to gaming. Kiwis are native only to New Zealand. That's probably why they're the national animal then. let's get to gaming. Turn this fucking music off. Shut the fuck up. Anywho, let me get my butt over here. I'm playing the Switch HD re-release because that's the best way to play the game. So hopefully it's not jank, because I know this was a what's it called? A pointer game. Does it still say "You are Mr. Gay" though? Because I remember that being like the giant thing about this game. You are Mr. Gay. That's my favorite Kirby game. Shut the fuck up. Who am I gonna choose? You know what? In honor of the Mario movie, we pick Yoshi. Regular mode. He looks like Luigi's brother. He does. What was I gonna say? How many of you guys have actually watched the Mario movie? I'm assuming not many, because you know what's really weird? Apparently, as much as I'm the Nintendo girly in my like community, surprisingly people don't fuck with Mario that much. Wanted to, but I'm right. That's fair. Every 100 years, a comet appears in the skies above the Mushroom Kingdom. Moving the weekend it came out. That's fair. The comet was so large one year, it filled the skies and sent countless shooting stars raining down. The Toads brought the shooting stars to the castle, where they became a great power star. Look at the star bits! Oh, I have to read because it's actually not giving me the A prompt. Should have been a very happy time for the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom. Also, if you guys haven't watched it, I do recommend, if you're at all interested, go watch it. It's a good movie. It is not as bad as people say it is. It is absolutely not a great movie, but it's a good movie. Like, people want like crazy generation defining. It's not that. It's a Nintendo movie. Look at her. Dear Mario.
I'll be waiting for you at the castle on the night of the Star Festival.
Oh.
There's something I'd like to give you. From Peach.
I forgot they just straight up always voice act this part of the game. That was really quiet though, wasn't it? Is that just me? Maybe when it's streaming? Yeah, maybe when it's streaming. What would it be on? It's Universal, so that would be what, Peacock? Probably, right? Or no, Paramount. I think that'd be Paramount, right? Unfortunately, it's probably going to be on Paramount Plus based on the fact that it's Universal Studios. And it's funny how a lot of people are like, why the fuck did Nintendo choose Illumination? And I'm like, bro, they partnered with Universal. People are silly. They don't understand. Give me the star bits. I know I have to feed a very hungry Luma multiple times. Such big jumps. Anyway. How have you guys' week been, by the way? You guys never answer that. How you guys doing? Besides apparently being uber broke for Leona. Also Leona, nice name with a League of Legends character included. Look, it's the scene from the movie. Also, anytime I say it's like this from the movie, just believe me, it's not. Like, there are some stuff that's probably gonna be similar. I'm not gonna tell you which is which. But if I just say, look, it's just like the movie, don't believe me. Big ass Luma. Also, did you guys hear / read that there is a potential Ocarina of Time remake coming out soon? There's a potential, it is not being confirmed, it is just a big ass rumor. Hi Jack, you are formally invited to the creation of a new galaxy. Run! I forgot the Royal Guards have capes. Listen, if you don't think Bowser's hot, you're not a furry. Neither am I, but I'm just having fun. How do you do the spin attack? Like, I can't do it, that's right. How could this happen to me? The princess is this way. Mario! Going to my happy place. Going to my happy place. I can't do a good Toad without like screaming off the top of my lungs, so forgive me if I don't do a good Toad impression. You know, speaking of Super Mario Galaxy, the movie, I always thought it was weird that they went from Super Mario Brothers to Super Mario Galaxy. Because, like, if you think about it, the Mario games went from Mario Brothers to Mario Land / World to Galaxy, then to Odyssey. But in the movies, they skipped the Land / World part and went straight to Galaxy. So, like, what? Are they gonna suddenly make it to Super Mario World movie? And it's like, wait, why'd you go down in scope? Sorry, I'm being a little nerdy about these things. I don't know. I just thought about it. Also, how does this work? I don't think this would work. Mario! Was that Mario panting? He was like, Oh, that is him. Why does he not sound like Charles here? Was Charles on vacation during this cutscene? What happened? I love the Luma noises so much. Oh. Yeah, you're awake. Let's play. They're a fan of Rain Harvest Jr. Let's play. Catch him. Oh. Let's play hide and seek. If you catch all of us, we'll tell you where you are. I'm in fucking space, brother. / sister, whatever your names are. Oh, I'm gonna die. Where are the rabbits at? They disappeared. You know, every time I do this, I want to do the Mario Odyssey dive. Get him! You got me. I knew shit and hidden in the crater. Also, this freaking thing always resets itself per cutscene. What crater? The Lumina crater? What the fuck is Lumina crater from? Is that Mario Odyssey? I think it's Mario Odyssey. This way? Like here? What crater? Oh, it is that one. Whee! Oh, Mario, listen to me. Whee! Get him! You got me. If only I'd hit and then in the pipe. Oh, yeah, oh, the pipe. Mario knows all about laying pipe. Get him! Grabbing that bunny shakes pretty hard. Listen, it was Easter this weekend. Hi, Solaris. Welcome in. How you doing? I feel like Luigi would be better hubby material. I think so. Remember, listen, Mario is chasing for someone who I think has given them a kiss once in the entire time they've been friends. Mario would have an ego? I could see that, yeah. Listen, it's Chris Pratt. He'll also have an ego. Maybe you really can help, mama. Mama. Luigi would be hubby material, though. Remember, he's a scaredy cat, but he'll still fight ghosts for you. Here's a suddenly, we should probably tell you where you are. There's a connection here to deep space. Gateway to the starry sky. We're at the Gateway Galaxy. I can't spin. Now, between Mario and Bowser, who would be a bit... Everybody shut up. Woman. Luigi is a shy guy. God damn it. Oh, you need to pay the pun tax, please. But yes, Leona, because I never actually mentioned it. Thanks for the sub. I know you called me out on not saying anything about it. Again, I was getting water when you subbed, but thank you anyway. Like, you just fucking got here and you're like, here's $6 fucking. Exist. I'm like, okay, thanks. My name is Rosalina. I watch over and protect the cosmos. To save your special one, you'll need the power to travel through space. Just picking on my new Oshi. I'm your Oshi after like 5 minutes? What happened? Luma can give you this power. I will entrust you with his care. Dun, 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 dun. Shake bleh. Spin with bleh. Disaster has struck us just as it has visited you. With Luma, hope you can rescue the grand stars. May the stars shine down upon you. Also, for those of you guys that don't follow Twitter, I made a really stupid comment Sunday night, and people fucking latched onto it, and I'm like, God, do people think I'm funny? Like, because they're gonna be so sorely mistaken. This is a launch star. I know what a launch star is. Go and explore the universe. Whee! Hello, good to see you. Bad news, launch star ready for you. Meteor smash it up. And all the star chips. Be careful not to fall in the... It's actually kind of crazy. You just fucking die in this game. Like, you touch a black hole and you explode. Like, Mario's dick gets ripped off if he goes into a black hole. It's kind of crazy. Kind of gruesome. I earned one additional Mario. Also, I'm gonna be really sad because Yoshi's not gonna be in this game, and I'm used to the original, or not the original. I'm used to playing 2, where it is absolutely Yoshi's in the game. Get it? Get over here! Fuck you! Eat shit and die! Get me out of here! One of those enemies should have the key. I killed all of them, so where's the key? Did they just like spawn another Goomba that actually has the key? Yeah, they fucking did. Hey! Would you mind rescuing my buddy? Okay, I'll transform it to a sling for transform! fire. I fucking love how they just scream it like it's an anime. Rage! Colon B. Hi, Rage. Thanks for the resub. 15 months. Oh, good lord. I'm trying to be funny. Fuck. I'm trying to be funny. I'm gonna fucking die in the tutorial stage. Anyway, hi Rich, how you doing? Happy Wednesday. Why am I saying that way? I don't know. We have fun around here. Down through the pipe. How's my favorite dragon? Dude, am I really everybody's favorite dragon? Nobody watches any other dragons? We've been waiting for you. That's a Grand Star. We have to save it. They're using the Grand Star to power that awful machine. Looks like it's making something. It's making a planet. Yes, I am. Am I? Really? Oh my god. I guess if you're watching like smaller VTubers, you wouldn't watch like there's the Zentreas, the bigger ones, the Viennas. But thank you guys. How'd I run into that? These things have a hitbox from the side. I will prove it. And I'm not proving it, but like that. Remember, this is an old video game. Hitboxes are not exact quite yet. Just dodge it, little mouse. Shut up. The edge of that was 2 miles away. Yeah, I don't care. I'll listen, Leona. You want to backseat me? I'm gonna go run into that thing right the fuck now. I will go kill myself in game right now. Oh wait, they disappeared. Shit, I literally can't do it. Never mind. I literally can't go right into them. Picking on a cutie. I'm not a cutie. Guys, by the way, I forgot to mention, but I'm gonna do it now because they probably are not expecting it. Neopolonia is also Leona is also a streamer. Give them a follow for me. Get picked on. Look, I'm at the observatory. Oh, your emotes are cute too. Super duper cute. 53 star bits. The observatory. Again, I've never played this game. I've seen it. I've seen a speedrun of it because, of course, I watch speedruns of all popular games because I watch games done quick. More like Observer D's nuts. Listen, Leona, there's a reason I'm a dragon, and it's because I get to dragon these nuts across her chin. Thank you very much. The beacon is lit. Shines beacon only bright as a classic star, but at least the poor Lumas will survive now. Oh, thank you for saving the Grand Star. These star people are my family. They mean so much to me. So I'm getting banned for that joke. Joke's on you. I only ban people that deserve it. Welcome to the Comet Observatory. It's my home and also home to the Lumas. You see, we travel the starry skies. We pass by this area once every 100 years, but we still only stopped in front of this planet. Touring. Strange force had latched onto our ship, pulling away starbits at our power source. Excuse me. Power stars. Our ship had lost power, so it entered a deep hibernation state in which it could not move. Those who took your special one picked up the power stars and discovered the power to cross the universe.
Please.
Please? Did she just say please? Please. I have a request. Anything, milady. Speak up. Enjoy this. Your team. Gotta work. Yeah, have a good day at work or a good night at work. Bye. I love you. Bye. This observatory uses star power to project images of the galaxies that are scattered across space, and there is a chance we can use our few remaining stars to look for other power stars. These round rooms are called domes. I mean, duh. We observe galaxies from domes such as these. But the only one that is working now, powered by the star power you restored, is this one, the terrace. Please go to the terrace and try to recover the power stars from the galaxies you can see from there. If we do that, we'll be able to restore the Comet Observatory's ability to fly like a starship. And perhaps we can pursue the thieves who ran off with the power stars. No thoughts, head empty. Meow. In we go. Welcome. This dome acts as an eye of the observatory. From here we can gaze upon distant galaxies. Once this luma transformed into a pole star, he would guide you to those faraway galaxies. Simply point your blur at the pole star and press blur. If you decided the blur, you can recite with the blur. If you're playing in blah, you can just tap blur directly on the screen. Sorry, I'm trying to pretend like I'm in character, so like they don't know what these fucking things are. These are the galaxies that can be observed from this dome. Numbers represent their distance from the observatory. The bigger the distance, the bigger the number, the greater the distance. The more power stars you find, the farther you'll be able to travel. Okay, bye-bye. Good Egg Galaxy. Yes, it's undeniable. We're detecting a power star energy patterns. Must warn you that the evil energy are off the charts. Please be careful. Okay. Here I go. Sorry, that's Luigi's line. Let's go. Also, guys, can you guys believe, like, the greatest scene in the Mario movie was when Mario said it's Marioing time and just transformed into Super Mario? Sorry, that last part was stupid. I'm like, am I really gonna call him Super Mario? Jesus Christ. It's Super fucking Mario. That's who it is. And they just like skip everything by doing this. Did they fix it? Hang on. Triple jump is higher. Give me a second. Super fucking Mario, yeah. Where did I hear that from? Oh, I don't know how much you guys watch like Mario YouTubers, but I'm pretty sure I got this from oh god, what's his name? Data Shack, I think his name is. And he was playing Mario Party with a bunch of other people. And he was just, it's Super fucking Mario. As Mario was like doing some crazy shit. I love these fucking note things. I wish the Mario Odyssey ones also had like a noise that played when you collected them. Do I ground pound this? No. I probably shoot it, but I don't want to waste my star bits. Nuh-uh. Wow, you can't ground pound the pipe. That's kind of fucked up. Woohoo! Listen, guys, one thing I don't want to lie to you guys about the Mario movie, that is why I'm telling you guys to watch it. There's a hot lesbian scene between Peach and Birdo. You guys have no idea. You guys also don't know from Telling the Truth, by the way. Where the fuck am I going? Oh, it's probably the other side. Jump. Oh, stop it. I know I need a lot of them for stuff. Ooh. No, I want a backflip. I don't want to do this, but that's fine. Whee. God, I fucking love the fact that I think it's starting with this game that Nintendo decided to start using like full orchestras for most of their popular video game soundtracks. And I just fucking love that decision because this music is beautiful. Where was the last one I'm missing? Right here. Can I hit the jelly? I can. Die, motherfucker, die. Wahoo! Yippee! I hit it. Oh! Was it worth it? I don't think it was worth it. Checkpoint. No, I'm just thinking of God, what video game is it? Is it Cruisin' USA? Where the clearly blonde woman goes checkpoint whenever you hit a checkpoint. Which is also funny. What the fuck did those checkpoints do? Because there wasn't really like a restart system in that. It was just you lose, you have to pay money. Bye bye. Whee! Oh, that's what it is. It's a money bags. It's a fucking coin coffer, but it's a Starbits coffer. It's a star sack, I guess. That's not a good name, but I'm gonna call him a star sack because I think it's accurate. Ah, you bitch. Get him all. I missed one. It is really hard to point this thing, by the way, because it may or may not include the gyro sensor on my Pro controller. I love how they reused this boss in Super Mario Galaxy 2, by the way. It's a little baby. It's a baby. I missed. Bop. He's angry. Don't wake the baby. Killed the baby. Don't wake the baby. I missed. I missed again. And I just killed the baby. Mario killed the baby piranha. Me, 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 me. I want more star bits. I want them all. 69, that's perfect. You don't see it, but I have 169.
Oh, yeah.
2 stars. 1 coin. Oh, because I died, that's right. Those bleh are star bits. The Lumas are the tasty, most delectable treats imaginable. Aim your bleh and bleh to point to pick them up. If you're playing in bleh mode, you can also collect bleh by tapping them on the screen. Once you have some, shoot them by while aiming with bleh and pressing bleh. Sorry, I'm going full vampire mode here. Why don't we try it out? Aim at me, feed me some star bits. I don't want to. I guess I have to though. 1, 3, 4. Do I have to do all 7? Just 5. Okay, we're good. I just got a little more as my feet for this lesson. I got a +2 there, we're good. You can also shoot them at enemies or feed them at hungry lumas. I'm sure starbits will be important, like every fucking video game on the Wii. Starbits became important. It's kind of weird how they just use starbits for every fucking game on the Wii era. A snack of cosmic proportions. Oh, isn't this the one where I actually feed a hungry luma? Oh, it's not. It is? Question mark? Maybe? It is. Look at them. He's so happy. Skip. Skip. Fucker. Skip again. No. Wait. Mario! Wish you could do a side flip. Anyway, let's take the intended path. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, wait. Something's in my eye. Oh, God. There we go. Coin. Ba, 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 ba. Shoot with blood. No thanks. I can just do this. Hi. I've got a hungry fan. You don't mind sharing your snacks. Whee! More. I need all the star bits. Got the 3D All-Stars collection and didn't play. I mean, honestly, I feel like this version might actually be better than the All-Stars version, because if you want to know the reason why I think this version is better than the All-Star version, this version you can use the Joy-Cons as intended. You can use them as makeshift Wii remote slash nunchuck, whereas the 3D All-Stars version you have to use a controller, which forces you to use like a really awkward aiming scheme with the stick, the pointer. I think I might need more star bits. I'm gonna go for like 50 might be a good number. Okay. But also, it's really weird how the 3D Mario All-Stars collection includes Super Mario Galaxy 1, but not Super Mario Galaxy 2 of all things. And people were correct in assuming that it was because they wanted to re-release them in HD. People were right. But this game looks really good considering this game's from 2007, I think. Right? 2007? I think that number sounds right. I could be wrong, but that number sounds right. Ow. Still in high school when this came out. Oh yeah. Hi Pecunia, you enjoying the emotes? Oh god, I'm gonna die. I was If this is 2003, I was not even 10 years. No, I was 10 years old. Sorry, 2007. I was sophomore, I think. I just died. I'm trying to kill these things but I think I'm being too safe with like when I target them, like with the spin attack. Oh my god, we went all the way back. I was that. I can't believe I died to it. I'm not gonna lie. There's no check. There wasn't any checkpoint. Can I skip this? I'm surprised there wasn't a checkpoint in any of those other islands. Also, there's some fun skips you could do with those pull stars, by the way, if you just noticed. I just pulled myself from one and let go, and the momentum still pushed me forward. Whee! I just skipped, by the way, I think. Yep, I think I just skipped my way over here. Hi, hungry friend. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Got any tasty star bits? If you feed me a bunch of star bits, I'll burst with snacky happiness and then transform. I'm famished. I need 100 star bits to curb the hunger pangs. Sorry, I just heard when I saw the hey you, yeah you, I just thought it sounded like a drug addict. More. That's it. I'm stuffed. Here we go. Transform! A new planet was born from this child dying. Bye. Whee! Ow! Fuck you! Give me that free Mario. Skip. Skip. Bonk. You know what's weird? I've never played this game, but like this stage seems very familiar to me. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's just because I played Super Mario Galaxy 2, which is just this game, but again. Oops, I just realized what I did. Skip. Goodbye. I think I can get that just without it, but I don't know if I want to risk it. I'm not gonna lie. Never mind. It's easy. It's Super fucking Mario. A snack of cosmic proportions. I've discovered a new galaxy. I don't know where, but I've discovered a new galaxy. It's kind of crazy how these galaxies in quotes are like, I don't know, 100 miles apart. Collecting Spider Stars will expand our range of vision. Oh my god, it's Fog of Warthog. Hang on. Can I change the text? No. Co-star mode is like you could have little brother helping you, huh? One more star. I'm gonna 100% this game. I'm sorry. Like, I'm having fun. I get to go yippee wahoo yaha. In Caliente's battle fleet. Caliente. Caliente. Who's Caliente? Oh, is that the Squid boss? Is it Squid Games? It might be Squid Games. Let me do it. Here we go. Now it worked. Whee! We got coconuts. What else is in here? Whole lot of fucking nothing, that's what. Wait, how do I leave this area? It's gotta be this thing. It's big. I gotta smack it. There we go. God, sorry, I fucking love Mario music, man. And yeah. Fuck you, Pokey. Or Pokio. Pokio is the guy from Odyssey. Pokey. What's in here? Oh. 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 Guys, I have a question for you. It is a perspective question. Is this, am I inside of a circle or a sphere, or am I walking on the outside of a sphere? I like how I got this like after it was over. Yesn't. Because it looks like both, depending on on how you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, obviously there's one right answer, but like, it's an interesting idea. Die! Chain chomps are a menace. Don't forget to, as Bob Barker once said, don't forget to spay and neuter your pets. Chain chomps included. It's definitely a study on perspective, that's for sure. Listen, well, I'm asking, what color are my eyes? Starbits. Starbits. Toad. Why is there a toad in here? You think it's such a hard question like that? I don't know. It's an easy question if you know what the answer is. Ooh, fireball. Fireball. Sorry, I was thinking of, is it Pitbull? Right? Pitbull that sings that song? He goes, fireball. I never really listened to Pitbull, but I do know that song just because it's funny. That I don't know any of the lyrics, but I do know that it starts with him going, fireball. Hi, Luma. What you got for me? Be careful, there's a big danger if it hits things here really fast. Shoot a starbit at one of those lights on the ground. Oh, I know that one. King Caliente. Also, you guys are in ads, please enjoy the ads while I pretend to do something, but really I'm just looking at my phone. Just checking my email to see if I got any updates for all the stuff that I have coming up. Sorry, I just have fireball. I saw, I came, I conquered, or should I say, I saw, I conquered, I came. That. Yes? Question mark? Yes? No? Maybe? Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I'm just quoting Malcolm in the Middle. Oh wait, really? Actually, that's part of the lyrics. That's funny. I might need to listen to the song, like, actually. That's actually really funny. That's a good line, though. Like, it's sleazy as hell, but that's a really funny line. Anyway, welcome back from the ads, everybody. I'm fighting Ganondorf in squid form. Listen, speaking of freaky lyrics, did you guys know there's a song about coming on some girl named Eileen? Like, it was very popular in like the 80s, I assume is when it came out, but like that's a crazy song title. Wee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me, I did not sleep well, so if I keep yawning, I deeply apologize. Are we done here? We are for now, so we go over here. Ooh, Honey Hive Galaxy with the big bee queen. Big mama. Big mama. Look at her.
Yes.
Oh my god, this song is so familiar too. Oh my god. What the fuck is up with his face? Holy moly. My god. Oh, he has like... He has fangs. Our queen rules this land. Do all of them have that? They all do. Oh no! Oh! We suicided. Suicide. It's okay, he lost 2 stocks, I just lost 1. Because that's how Smash Brothers works. What the fuck? Why did I just go backwards? It's the bee mushroom. Whatever the fuck that's called. Is it just called the bee shroom? Bees or beetles? See that area behind the waterfall? That's our Queen's Castle. That's not really much of a castle now, is it? Can't see. Meow. Oh god, it's the slide from Mario 64? It's crazy how these things are barely, like, designed to barely fit you. I'm stuck in the honey. I'm stuck in the honey. Whee! There's a lot of star bits. I can't say no to that. Whee! Get in, loser. We're going to the queen. Honey. It's honey. Yum, 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 honey. Honey. This is kind of jank, I'm not gonna lie. Coins. No. No means no, Mr. Piranha. Hello, Miss Queen. Your Majesty. And who might you be? A physician, we presume? Oh my god, because he's Dr. fucking Mario. No matter, we are in the most vexing predicaments that require assistance. Most furious itchiness plagues our entire being. It must be stopped. Please find a source at once. Lady, there is a star piece in your belly, abdomen, where your hoo-ha would be, so that might be where the itching is coming from. Wee, that's 3, that's 4, 1 is under your feet. My thanks, you have shown much bravery, newbie. Newbie. We trust that we may rely on you in the future. Probably, I don't know. My queen. I thought this stage would be done by now. Oh my god. Captain Toad! It's the first Captain Toad. Ah, a bee! What? Mario? Hey, it's you! We escaped from Peach's castle too. But then we thought Bowser would get us, and then we got lost with Luigi. Oh, I just remembered. We found a power star. I'm sure you need this. So here, take it. It's Captain Toad! It's Captain fucking Toad! Captain Todd! I don't know why I have fucking fireball stuck in my head now. Oh, Rosalina. What do you want to talk to me about, girl? 420, blaze it, baby. How lucky am I? Mario. Your name is Mario, isn't it? That is what I heard from your friends who just arrived. Mario. It has such a nice ring, almost like a husband. Sorry. Ooh. Your friends are waiting for you in the garage. They want to tell you something, so you'd best hurry on over there. Okay. Bye, pretty giant space lady. Hi, Captain Toad. What do you want? Mario! Somehow we made it too. We'll help you get the power stars and save Princess Peach. You can count on us, Mario. We're in this together. Talk to you, maybe? Hello. Lumas are gonna build us a ship. When it's done, let's look for Princess Peach and power stars. What about you, nerd Toad? So I guess this place is some kind of mobile space station controlled by that Rosalina lady. Who exactly is she? Anyway, she's not a witch, is she? Is she? No, that's ridiculous, right? Oh no. We're building a starship. Like how they said they want to talk to you, and it's like they don't have anything to say really. I still fucking love Yo's return music as well. Ah! Whee. Next is back to Honey Hive. What's next? Trouble on the tower. Bobo's Big Tower? Oh my god, guys, I kind of want to play Bobo's Big Tower on stream for you guys sometime. It's a fun game. It's hard as balls, but it's fun. If you guys don't know what that game is, don't worry. It's an indie game. Give me the star bits. I got them all. Oh yeah. Oh, star bits. I wasn't ready. Wee. Yahoo! It's kind of boring. Oh, I didn't even get everything. I thought they were trying to teach me how to ground pound. It's like, bitch, I know how to ground pound. I'm super fucking Mario. Ooh, bye-bye. Wiggler! It's Wiggler Wednesdays, guys! Nope, he's dead. It is no longer Wiggler Wednesday, my guys. Also, do you guys know the lore behind Wiggler Wednesdays? Because it's kind of funny. Yep, it's me, the famous Gilboard. If you want to climb up this wall, you better listen up. Stick to a wall, press B to do a wall jump. Moving straight to Thwomp Thursdays. I don't know if I want to call it Thwomp Thursdays, because there's a lot of people that'd be like, I want to thwomp somebody that made this fucking comment. And I'd be like, well, you better shut the fuck up and do it yourself. Listen, people are freaks if you give them the chance to be. That's one thing I've learned. Hell, I'm a freak if you give me a chance to be. Just look at that fucking thing I posted on Sunday. Oh, hang on. I like how you calling me a coward was considered bullying. Even if it was in quotes, that's funny. Come over here and thwomp me yourself, coward. Exactly. Or I should just say, go thwomp yourself. Fucking love it. Oh. The Rainbow Star's a really cool power-up. Too bad it never came back. I was like, you just fucking zoom with this thing. I give you all the chances. Shut up. Don't do that. Don't encourage it. Or do. I don't know. I'm not your mom. Those mandibles have taken over the observation deck. It's time to kill a family, guys. In Mario Galaxy. You bitch. There you go. Mario, why'd you do that? Ugh, Mario! I thought you were super fucking Mario. Oh my god. Let's get that windmill going. Guys, I was playing Pokopia this week, and let me be honest, I unlocked a lot of fossils, like a lot of fossils, that I might have summoned a fossil Pokemon or two. I haven't gone to their areas to maybe save them for Friday, but I have absolutely done a lot in Pokopia. He's not happy. Come here. I missed. Come here. Come here, boy. Goodbye. shrimping a little too much with this game because I have to aim the controller really awkwardly for the pointer. Speaking of, can I aim? I cannot. It is specifically gyro. Is that everything? Nope. Blah. Blah. What is this? Big bad bugaboo. I think this boss was also reused in Mario Galaxy 2. They're not happy. Did I kill the queen? Is that what's going on?
Yes.
The music changed, by the way. Give me your Starbits, please. Thank you very much. I'm just robbing these guys of their candy. Hi. Doesn't work. Get away. Nice arrow. Oh, I know what it means by the arrow. It's these. Launch me. Ah. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Dead. That didn't do anything. Do I have to kill them all? Can't see. I couldn't see, motherfucker. Job abusing line of sight. Ow! He has priority over Mario's butt stomp. That's actually kind of nuts. Starbits. There's a life there. Oh, you bitch, you just missed. Bonk. Is it here? It is not. Is it actually we have to kill them all? That can't be right. I feel like they wouldn't make that a thing. Whee! So where am I going? Is it this way? I think it's this way. It's not that way. We go to the queen now? To the queen! Queenie! The neighbors are causing trouble. We'd be most grateful for your assistance. Okay. I am a princess, but I will protect the queen. Oh, princess. Oh god, I pressed the wrong button, pressed the wrong button, pressed the wrong button, pressed the wrong button. Monk. Look at him! Big ol' bugaboo. Bonk. Now he gets to fly around. He just shit out Starbits for me. And drop. Fuck you and die. Oh, now he's red. Now he's really angry. Or he's bleeding. One of those two. He shot out more Starbits though. I missed. Oh my god. He shits out bombs. You. Goodbye. A loser. A loser. Just like Kevin. A loser. A loser. We got a star. God, how many stars are in this game? Is it one? It's probably 120, but are there like bonus stars? Super Mario Galaxy 2 and bonus stars. Oh my god, 602, another Mario related number, by the way. If you don't know what that is, 602 is how many stars there are in every Mario game except, I think, not including past Galaxy 2. Goodbye. I'd love to be Mario. Why'd you say goodbye? Are you leaving me, Pecunia? Please don't leave me. I love Mario. Don't leave me. Loop-de-loop Galaxy. All I can think of is that one song that album, the girl in the bee costume. Excuse me? Surfing 101. The 1010, bruh. Like, sorry, brah. Like B-R-A-H. Brah. Look at that smile on his face. God, these fucking songs are all so classic. Those star bits are not even loaded in, by the way. Are you a server too? I say goodbye to the boss. I did say goodbye to the boss. I thought you were saying bye to me. Like, man, okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get how it is. Oh, well, this is your first time race surfing, right? Well, then let me show you the ropes. Now, let me explain. My life is pretty plain. Did I actually? The fuck? Huh? I'm so confused. Oh, wait, what? That song has a girl in a bee costume in it? That's pretty funny. Let me explain. Trying to match the guide on the bottom right. I actually have to hold my thing. Have my thing level, which is not how I hold my controller. Turn left, twist left. That's how you turn left. Turn right, twist it to the right. That's how you turn right. Just hold down B to speed up. That's how I need it up. Okay, bye. It's actually surprisingly responsive, as I say, as I get offline with the Pro controller. Go, Grandma. Thanks, General Pepper. General Pepper here. Now I want to play Star Fox Adventures. For fuck's sake, there's so many random quotes that I have in my brain that just make me want to think of other video games that I haven't played in forever. Oh god, don't fall. And it's not wanting to play Star Fox Adventures because of Crystal the fucking Fox, but Crystal the Fox is a big reason why I would want to play it. Even though she's British. Which I think is really funny that she's just straight up British. Whee! Also, by the way, I have not let go of the B button. I'm just going full speed. I'm not slowing down and when I make these turns. God, this water is gorgeous, by the way. Oh god, don't. I almost died right at the fucking end. Oh no, 203. Oh my god, did you see my number? It is 1, a 2, a 2. It is exactly how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. And if that doesn't show you how much of a fucking boomer I am, I don't know what will. I'm sorry. You earned a star. Galaxy complete. We have discovered every base in the region. We can only hope they are not misusing the power of that Port Grand Star. Yeah, well, I don't fucking care. I'm going to the other galaxy. What's this one? Flip Switch Galaxy. Ooh. You know, I've had ideas for stream. One of them is a Mario marathon, one of them is a Zelda marathon, one of them is a Pokemon marathon, one of them is a Kingdom Hearts marathon, even though I've already played 1, 2, and 3. And I mean playing every Kingdom Hearts game, except for Union Key, because that game's out of service. Oh, don't, no, you bitch, you knocked me off. I knew that was coming. This game doesn't fuck around, does it? Oh my god. Mario's whole ass skeleton was shown there. Get away. Good try. Don't patronize me. Don't you dare patronize me. Ah! I shall patronize you as my right as your jet. No. 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 Whee! I missed. Ba-da-ba. No. Just for that, you get an ad in 3, 2, 1. Bah. I missed. I missed the timing. I was trying to be like one of those TikTok girlies that tries to time the lightning strikes during like a thunderstorm. I'm subbed. I don't get ads. I appreciate you calling yourself a sub. Thank you. Fine. Bowser Jr.'s robot reactor, Mega Legs Moon. Did you know Mega Leg spelled backwards is Jellameg?
Yes.
Don't look too far into it. You'll call me incorrect. Good, because I'm not wrong about it. Take your word for it, Hotolmoon. That is how you make mistakes of epic proportions. Where's the bullet bill at? Where'd the bullet bill go? Bullet bill, why did you not chase me and kill me? Think about it, big hot women. Yeah, I mean, death by Snoo Snoo, that is a thing. Starbits, 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 Starbits. I missed one. Starbits. Big boss. You made it. But I won't even need my dad's help to take care of you. Get at him, Mega Leg. Start him with the power of your Grand Star. You know what's funny, by the way? I'm surprised how pretty accurate movie Bowser Jr.'s voice to actual Bowser Jr.'s video game voice. I have to be euthanized, would you execute me like that? I mean, I feel like everybody who gets executed on my stream kind of has that happen to them. How do I fight this boss? I can see how. This is a pretty cool boss, actually. I get to hold W, in this case, forward on the control stick. It's a good thing. To do this, I guess. I think there's a way to make it go around, but I guess I have to do this. Where's the nearest Bullet Bill? Bullet Bill! There we go. Oh my god, they're not even targeting me correctly. Bullet Billiam! Please come this way, Bullet Billiam. Where are you? Hole in security. Oh, did it already disappear again? I guess it did. Mr. Bill. Or should I say Dr. Bill. It's Torpedo Ted now, that's what it is. And I'll thank you to say it correctly. I almost did it. You know what's crazy about Bullet Bill and all them? Every single one of the different bomb, like self-propelled bomb varieties are alliteration, because there's a Bullet Billiam, which was those right there. There's Banzai Bill, which is the giant ones in Super Mario World. There's Torpedo Ted, which is the underwater ones from Super Mario World. And then in Mario Wonder, they recently came out with the sister of the group, Missile Meg. There's a whole ass family in there now. Excuse me. Good lord. Man, woman, anthropomorphized explosives. They have not yet made an anthropomorphized explosive yet. I guess the bomb is technically the anthro explosive, but it's more of a walking bomb than anything. New galaxy in the fountain. Sounds like woke Hollywood TEI. Yeah, I hate people that call things woke for no reason. That ball of flame represents the power of the observatory. We call it the beacon. When you recover a grand star, a little star power will be restored and the beacon will grow. The Comet Observatory can use that power to fly through the universe. Once all of the power is restored, we will be able to fly to the center of the universe. Oh, the power is in on a new dome. The fountain. The newly opened dome is called the Fountain. It's really quite relaxing. By the way, here's the map. It contains information about the galaxies as well as domes. Here's the location of a dome. Don't hesitate to speak with me. Alright. We're going for Mr. Vor Galaxy. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Got any tasty starbits? If you feed me a bunch of starbits, I'll burst with snacky happiness and then transform. I'm famished. I need to. Oh my god, 400 starbits to curb the hunger pangs. That's a lot of fucking starbits, don't you think? More. That's it. I'm stuffed. Here we go. Return. Was everyone so full of war? Because they are basically keyword. Kirby. The sweet, sweet galaxy. Rocky Road. Hey, I get it. You guys get the reference? I get the reference. Do you guys get the reference? It's a reference. Do you guys get the reference? I get the reference. Come on the wheel and then I come on the dash and then I come on the floor and then I'm done and I'm done. Sorry, I just had that stuck in my head because that's like the only reason I know this song in modern times. Oh god, I'm sorry. Oh god. I'm like sorry, but I'm not at the same time. Mario. Give me all the star bits. You know what this reminds me of? Death. It's okay, we get to listen to the song some more. More star bits. I paid him 400 for this. I'm getting 20% back. Don't die, please. Oh my god, there's no momentum to his jumps. I have to long jump. He got a power star. So do I. It's mine now, motherfuckers. We're going back. Do you think these are actual strawberries or strawberry gumdrops? The furiously masturbating part gets me every time. You can say the word. It's in the lyrics. It's so funny. Yeah, it's driving and I'm screaming and I'm furiously masturbating, swerving and I'm swerving and I come.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, I had to get this. Fine, that's fine. It's a song. It's somebody made a parody of that specific song. Go look it up. It's funny as fuck. And but Twitch is like, "Are you sure you want to say that?" I understand why Twitch would give you a warning on that. Hi, renaming me, Captain Toad. Also, if you want to censor, you just censor like one letter in there. You're fine. You don't gotta censor like half of it. Sorry, Pikunya, that's a really funny clip though. Like I silenced myself for a little bit, specifically because of the fact that I knew like this is gonna be great, great clip fodder if somebody had the mind to. Oh god. I can't unhear that song when I hear huh? No. No, Pecunia. No. No. Incorrect. No. I mean, like, if you're trying to censor a word, like if the word was masturbate, you would censor one of the vowels.
Yes.
Like how people type job, but censor it by getting rid of the O. Yeah, that works. Somewhere in the middle is probably better. It looks better if you do it somewhere in the middle. It's also really funny how your message logs are just gonna have you randomly typing, "I masturbate to vor." I think that'd be really funny. Sorry, future viewers. I think it's gonna be future mods. Anyway, let's get off that particular topic for no other reason. Let's put the chat back in a different kind of freaky mode, I guess. I don't know. How down bad are you guys for Rosalina? Because me, that's a good answer. I love Rosalina. Do you guys like Rosalina? Because I like Rosalina. Daisy's your favorite princess? Ooh, why is that? Is it because she's rambunctious? Is it because she's from Sarasa Land? Which, surprisingly, I've never played, I have never played, Mario Land, which I believe is where she's from. Is it Mario Land 2 specifically where she's from? I like them rambunctious. Captain Toad! You know Mario Kart interface for his name is? I don't know. What do you mean? Hi, Captain Toad. Da 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 da, Mr. Mario. But anyway, if we're talking about favorite princesses, I like them all equally. I do think probably Daisy would be my favorite, just because I do like the fact that she's like a go-getter. She's spunky, as one would put, you know, full of spunk. Spunky, that word. Which is a word I'm surprised people don't say a lot. They wanted to make a heavy character. Actually, I could see that. Because like Daisy and Peach were very much like medium characters. And they probably didn't want to flood the game with another medium / light build character. This stage is weird, by the way. The stage is very weird. I don't know where to run because the stage builds itself. It's like a Mario Maker level, but officially. Also, I need to set up the exclamation point clip command. I need to figure that out so you guys don't have to get away from the stream to clip stuff. Maybe I'll take care of that tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I'm sure it's easy. I never got it set up. Sorry, my back is starting to get really tight right now. Whew. Back to space junk. Also, speaking of designs and characters, did you guys know Waluigi has no backstory because he was designed specifically as a pair to Wario in Mario Tennis for this Nintendo 64. So he does not exist as a character of his own. He solely exists as a foil to Luigi for Wario. Tennis is the backstory, yeah, like literally. That's all it is. He's just a sports character, which is why he's only in the sports games, and there's an assist trophy in Smash. Can you hit this? Oh, you have to go from this side? That's kind of weird. Whee! But yeah, there's a lot of people that were thinking like, oh, when they introduce Wario, are they finally going to introduce Waluigi into the actual Mario universe? And I'm like, no, Wario or Waluigi has no character. They could try to make one for him, but I feel like at that point it's kind of a waste of time. Also, if I said Daisy was in the Mario Galaxy movie, would you believe me? I feel like you wouldn't believe me if I said that. Because I feel like that would be like massive news. And by that I mean like Nintendo would be like, hey, here's our voice for Daisy, like they did with everybody else. Because I wanted to be in it. I gotta sneeze, hang on. Okay. Because you want her to be in it? You better go watch it and find out if she is and is not. I am saying she is not, but I could be wrong. I missed. Where's the Koopa? When I was a kid stomping Koopas. Red shell. I should have known there was a red shell in here. Oh. Oh, I found their stash. Darn it, I'm trying to skip because I saw the pole star up there. Who is this? It's a woman! Kill the woman. Spider-Man! Oh my god, it's the Spider-Man. Hi, welcome in from NCU 859. What MCU is that? Somebody give me the answer. Anyway, welcome in, Spider-Man. Big fan. The Toby one is what I'm a big fan of. Which is your favorite? And comic book is an answer. They hit me. He hit me. Die, woman. Yeah. A59 means Earth. A59, which is the universe. Okay. That's what I figured. I don't know exactly universe numbers because I haven't really watched a lot of like the shows that have like a lot of that stuff. I haven't watched a lot of modern Marvel, honestly. Oh, the comet. Prancer comet has appeared somewhere. Very strange effect on galaxies. I found Earth 1959. Am I reading all that? I'm not reading all that. Okay, it's fine. I don't plan to read it either. Brags. Oh, Speedy Comet. Oh hell yeah, let's do it. But anyway, welcome in, Spider-Man. You a fan of dragons, or what are you doing here? It's my own fan of the universe. Ah, that's fair. Fair enough. I appreciate a person that creates their own lore. Is your Mary Jane dead or not in your universe? Egg. Speedrun? Okay. I remember this song. Again, this song gets used in Mario Galaxy 2 for speedruns. Happy Easter! Do you guys know that dragons lay eggs? So I'm technically an Easter bunny? Ooh, I got it though. Need to talk to you later about that. Okay. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna explode. Oh, I wanna get the coin. Oh, I wanna die. I don't wanna die, Mr. Stark. Honestly, when I think of Easter, I think of Easter Island has the Moais to make everybody go. I can't do like the throat singing, so apologies for that. Also, by the way, I added a new sound effect too. So, have fun if you guys want to use it. It is exactly what you think it is if you've been in my stream for a couple of months, because I mentioned I wanted to do this. I missed. It's loud. I am so sorry. I will change that as soon as I finish with this stage. I am so sorry that I probably blew a couple of your eardrums out. I'm very sorry. Staple of internet history. Oh, it 100% is. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up. It is a 2-minute-ish video. And I wanted to put the full thing on, but it's a 2-minute thing, so like I don't actually want to subject people to watching a 2-minute video that don't want to. Hi Fudge, hi, welcome in. Also, don't do that alert again for a little bit, please. I need to fix the volume. I don't want to keep blowing people's eardrums out. Because I know I'm not the loudest, so I'm hoping that it's not like wasn't so loud above me that it actually blew people's ears out. I apologize for that. I forgot to test audio levels. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Fudge? Welcome in. All right, let me go fix this.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it on, but mute it so you guys don't actually hear it. Let me go over to sound alerts. My alerts. And audio level, let's bring it down to a cool 33%. Alright, let me test it. You guys won't hear it, but I should be able to. Wait, you guys actually heard that one. That was coming from Chrome, that's why. Hang on, I gotta test it in the browser source. There we go. Where's the audio level? It is still extremely high. You guys will see it, but won't hear it, because I have that by design. Did it not save? Alright, we're getting this down to like 10% in that case. Does that work? That is more manageable. Let me see how you guys hear it, by the way. What do you think? Is that loud enough? Can I make it a little louder potentially? What do you guys think? Could it be a little louder? Is it okay? It's perfect. It's actually okay. If you guys say it's good, it's good. Seems good. All right. Because for me, it sounds quiet because it's, you know, just how my audio levels sound. It's just how you guys hear it. If you guys say it's good enough to where it doesn't explode your eardrums and doesn't, and you guys can actually hear it, then we're chill. I might put it up a little bit, a good like, I don't know, 5% more. It does seem a little quiet. Let's go right around. Let's go there. There we go. I will leave it at that, and then the next time somebody accidentally presses it, we'll hear it. You guys don't have to test it for me. I'm just saying. We'll leave it at that. Ugh. But thank you guys for letting me know. And I'm sorry that I blew your eardrums out the first time. Space Junk has one too. Oh shit. Gonna let it go back in? Okay. Don't disappear forever now. Full star path speedrun. Is it the same stage that I just did as a speedrun, or is it actually something different? It's the same stage. How much time do you give me?
Yes.
Go, Mario! Now this reminds me of the Bowling for Soup song, Hey Mario. If you guys don't know what that is, don't worry about it. I am a Bowling for Soup fan. You don't have to be. I can't see. I can't see. Oh, bad break. You guys won't miss anything. I've done this stage already like 15 minutes ago. Go, 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 go. Save them all. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, it's this. Oh god, I have to speedrun this part of the stage? Shit. Pretty sure I know where the last like the last ones to land on are, but I don't want to risk it. Risk literally dying for no fucking reason. Also, welcome back from the ads. Spider-Man, I saw your message. I just didn't get to read it because that fucking sound alert played. Give me a second after I get this star. I think the timer still plays at this, doesn't it? It does. Alright, what did you say about your universe? I became a Spider-Man, kills his enemies. Avengers never resisted, MJ. And what that? Oh shit, okay. Damn. What's in the news? You missed the news, Ruby. Welcome in. I'm just kidding. I could say it again. Oh, there's another comment. There's another comment. Enemy they spotted. Massive energy ratings. Can I teleport in this game? I don't think I can. You can't teleport? I figured I couldn't. I was just curious. Also, be a little careful about answering questions in backseat. It is my first time playing this game. I'm mad sleepy. I am also sleepy. I did not sleep well. Cosmic Mario race. This is great. What was I gonna say? If you want the news, first of all, I like this is probably the one that the least amount of people would care about, I guess. I have actually found somebody to work on Anthro Dragon Ran. So that's gonna be in the works for however long it takes. And at the same time, I got the freaky art that people voted for in. Yeah, so we got to those going. And then the actual, like the big news for the people that do care, is I may or may not, keyword may, have got in touch with Jupiter, the person who rigged my model, to work on a new project together. Oh, it's over. That's like the big one that I actually wanted to bring up. Ba-da-ba. But you just got this model? I did. Thank you for the scratches. It's not a new model. It is an update to said model. Oh, phew, yeah. I don't plan to replace this model for a little bit. If I quote-unquote replace it, it'll be with probably like a 3D version. That's like the only thing I could see like changing models for is just the same thing but 3D. But yeah, I had an idea for something for the model and got work done on it over the past year-ish. Granted, I've only had this model for about a year, so like that's, you know, neither here nor there. But I like this 2.5 double Ds. I mean, who doesn't? Again, I don't see myself actually doing any of this that I'm saying. Like, not unless I somehow found myself with a giant influx of money. And I don't mean giant influx of money as in like tax season, because tax season for me is an influx of money, because I I am a smart person, and I tell them take away more than you need, so I guarantee don't owe anything at the end of the fiscal year. But what I mean is, like a random influx of money. Like if I win the lottery or like get some random inheritance, which by the way I don't think I ever will, because most of my, I believe all of my grandparents have passed away, so there's not like a random inheritance that I'd have. I personally prefer quadruple Ds. Damn. I don't think I'm that big. What do you think? Hang on. Chat, what do you think? Quadruple Ds? Double Ds? What do you think? Hey, you got any tasty Starbits? How many do you need? 50. Oh, I can do that really easy, actually. Double. I think it's double. I think my old model was probably pretty close to quadruple, but I think this one did, like, not shrink them down, but rather give them more form, which resulted in a shrinkage. Because my old ones were quite literally balloons. Like, no offense to my artist, like I loved that model, but they were just balloons. But these ones have more of a teardrop shape, more natural shape. I still think this model has more me vibes than the old one did, if only by a little bit. More. I'm stuff transform. It's a Yoshi. It's Donald Glover. Where's the... There's gotta be a rainbow mushroom in here, doesn't there? There's really not a rainbow mushroom? Okay. There should be a rainbow mushroom in here, but I'm surprised there's not. I need the coin. There's no coins. No way. I couldn't, like, the thing was about to reload my spin, but I guess I did it too early. Please don't tell me I have to re-feed this motherfucker. Okay, we're good. I can't believe I died to a fucking Goomba. The planet's just rocks, or is Mario just Godzilla girthy shroom sized? I think the planets in here are just like rock shaped. Damn it. Fuck you, motherfucker. I think it's just for scale. Like, if they made them actually as big as actual planets, I don't think it'd be nearly as fun a game, because like half the game would just be running across a single planet to get to another planet. That's not the last one. Where's the last one at? But you know what would be cool? Like, it'd be cool. Like, it'd just be Mario Odyssey at that point, right? Because Mario Odyssey is essentially what this game would have been. In terms of like how big it is. But anyway, yeah, for my whenever I debut that new outfit and stuff, the things that I'm planning, there's gonna be a lot more than surprisingly there was for my 2.0 debut, just because I have other things that The fuck? Oh, that wasn't even the one I wanted. I have other things that I have working in the background too that I'll probably just debut at the same time. You know, for a half second when I was deciding on who to commission for my newest model, this one, last year, 2 years ago, year and a half roughly, about how long I've been waiting on it, I was debating on if I wanted someone that could add bits and bops to it, but at the same time I'm like, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't do like fansy stuff and things like that. I wouldn't use it. What's the point? I would just get the surcharge, the freaky surcharge for nothing at that point. I just think it'd be interesting to have like an all-in-one that just I'd have forever and just do with it what I see fit. Yeah, art for that. Yeah, exactly. Like, you just do art for that. Like, you don't need to have, like, in fact, I think it's kind of weird at times, depending on how it works. Just having, like, a naked model. I don't know. That's just me. Fire! This is a really cool mechanic. Wait, there's a... Oh, we're in the spider butthole. Oh, I don't like this. Stretch? Okay. Ugh. Thank you, Spider-Man. Hydrate? Okay. The fuck kind of spider is this? This is not a spider. That thing's got a giant red ass. I missed. God, it's kind of jank, I'm not gonna lie. Nice lineup. The boss dead? Oh no, just phase one. So bulbous, so jiggly. Ah, motherfucker. You bitch. Oh, what hit me? Nothing actually hit me there, by the way. I just hit the ground and I exploded. I missed him. Is Toad dead? No, he's alive. It's honestly kind of jank with the Pro Controller, because I don't get to aim at it like a Joy-Con. Give me the health this time. I saw it there and I just didn't take it. like, did I miss? No.
Yeah.
This is so annoying. I double hit? No, it doesn't let me. There we go. This isn't that bad. This, I don't know how to fight. You motherfucker, fuck you. That stuns him, that's funny. Okay, got it. There, should be good. Okay, we're good. We're okay. Oh my god, we just shot it into space. Oh no, I am so sorry. I feel really bad for that spider. I fucking shot that thing into space. Bye. You know what I saw on Twitter the other day? Somebody complaining that the difference between a popular streamer slash VTuber and a non-popular streamer slash VTuber is how much dead air there is. And I'm like, I think it depends on the game, because like if you're playing a story-driven game that's voiced, potentially like if it's a newer game, you're not gonna talk over the voiceovers. But it's like if it's a game that obviously has no voice acting, you should read that shit yourself. I need 400 star bits. I have enough. Perfect. More! That was very fast feeding. Transform! And I'm like, I feel like I've seen streamers where there's more than a couple seconds of dead air. But again, I think it just depends on what the hell you're doing. Hell, imagine if you're watching a fucking League stream, there's dead air all the time. Doesn't mean they're not popular. Fuckers. Like, people are dumb. They're just arguing metrics that don't always apply. A very sticky situation. My thing is off center. There we go. I fucking missed. I thought I timed it well, I actually didn't. Blah. I missed! How the fuck did I miss that? Like, actually. Honestly, I blame the jankiness of using a Pro controller as a pointer rather than a Joy-Con as the fake Wii remote. But I also consider that's a skill issue, not actually a game issue. Motherfuck. I also apparently can't do lines. It's fun to give me a lot of starbits for this. So fucking jank, I have to fix it almost every time I aim. Here, I can just skip the life, because the life is a life. Really now? Radiant says, oh, hi Tana. Hi Tana, what's up? I didn't think I'd see you. I feel like I haven't seen a lot of people recently. How's it going? H-Rin? What the fuck is Rin? How did I miss that one? That was like actual pixels away. The game should have given me that one. Hi. Yeah. How you doing though, Tano? Happy April. I feel like I haven't seen you since at least March. This should hit. Oh my god, I almost fucking hit the damn thing. I miss you. I miss you too. You know when I stream, you know I'm always here. Oh my god, I almost missed. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. Please let me get pulled off of this, thank you. Holy starbit heaven. I just need to not hit this so fast, because if I shake, I do stop getting pulled. It is April, it is warming up, so it's kind of annoying, but I'm doing okay. Just been busy working and stuff. I don't think you were around when this happened a couple weeks ago, but I can fix it. Oh my god, I could have fixed it. I just didn't realize that I got hit fast in time. I had my grandmother pass away last month, so dealt with that, but everything is done and we're good. Oh, thank god, it's a checkpoint. More starbits! That was actually almost exactly a month ago now that I think about it. The reason I know the dates, besides the fact that it's, you know, my grandmother, was because I had to remember the dates to get, get paid at work for it. What'd you miss? I killed a spider by chucking that shit into space. Besides that, nothing. You missed me talking about, shit. Talking about the news, which by the way, Tano, news for you since you just came back to the internet apparently. The freaky art that you guys voted for is officially commissioned. I just need to, you know, needs to finish. I may have to get it redone because, like, not a bad thing, but I decided to go with Skeb because it's a little cheaper in that case. I did go with someone that I feel like can pull off what I wanted to do. And worst case, I consider that a bonus for you guys and do it again. I missed Smart. You did not miss any art yet. I'm just saying that is in, it is not done yet. Besides that, I am also getting Dragonkin form Anthro Rin drawn and designed by somebody soon. And on top of that, this is probably something you'll care the most about, I have a new outfit coming soon, TM. I just got in touch with my rigger this week, and they have begun work soon, TM, because I don't know the exact date. That's a lot of starbits. I just doubled my starbit count. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, so sometime this year you guys will see a new outfit on me. New outfit is nice. Yeah, you'll see it eventually. Boop, thank you. Rolling. Oh god, isn't this galaxy a pain in the ass? But how does this work with my Pro Controller? Well, yeah, besides that, Just been streaming a lot. You're gonna have 3 outfits. I am gonna have 3 outfits. My main one, the new one, that's like the one that I have now, and then another one. That's more than most cartoon characters. That is true. Being an ambiguously masturbating, come on the wheel, and then I come on the dash, and then I come on the floor, and then I'm done, and I'm done. What does it want? Straight up? Oh, what's straight up? That's what it wants. Did you watch the Molly Gas movie? I did. Be careful on the spoilers because there are people here that did not watch it and probably will watch it soon. Got a new phone, keep minutes stream. Default you know how I open my old phone because this stream. Oh, that sucks. Oh, this is kind of annoying because I'm using the thing, my controller's straight up right now, like vertical. I'm using this like I would an actual Joy-Con, and I don't like that. It's as jank as you expect it. I can't control this fucking thing, bro. My controller's also straight up. It's not a controller, Pecunia, it's a joystick. Shut up. It's just as jank, that's funny. Also, I have a lot of ideas for art that I want to do, but first of all, art's expensive. Second of all, they're stupid ideas, and by stupid ideas I just mean they're like jokes. But I know people would enjoy them. I should not do this, I should not do this. I'm being so stupid by doing this. Turn around. Oh my god, this is such a pain in the ass to turn around, actually. I'm being really stupid by doing this. I do not need these star bits. I fucked the shortcut. Fuck that, actually. Fuck. Oh god, maybe the shortcut might be better. Ah! Jesus Christ. If I have to pull out my Joy-Con 2s for this, I will do it. Like, fuck doing this as it is. Is it over yet? Oh my god, it's over. Thank fuck. Oh, ad break. Galaxy complete. Hurry, Scurry Galaxy. I know this one. Why do I know this one? I've never fucking played this game, bro. Sorry, this... I don't know why Mario music just makes me stim. I guess it's because it's so good. Should I do this without jumping? Psych, that's the wrong number. Oh, it's this motherfucker. Let's do it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's a really dumb idea that I just did there, but I did it. That was not so bad. Do you guys know how to get it though? The answer is kill yourself. Hydrate? Okay. Welcome back from the ad, by the way. Ah. Jumps off roof. Please don't actually. Do not actually do these things. It is a joke that I was saying. Battle Rock Galaxy. I think what I'll do for tonight is potentially finish up the Bowser stage in this area, and then we'll finish up for today. Because I'm gonna do the entire of Battle Rock Galaxy. What emoji? Which one? The hydrate one? Oh yeah, the hydrate thing? Yeah. I believe who made it is... I think they go by Arcomi, if I recall. Again, I've had a lot of these things for a little bit. I just haven't attached them to anything. Like the hydrate one, I think I had for like a month before I actually attached it to the hydrate command. I have a couple other things that I have that I just haven't attached still. For no other reason than I'm essentially fucking lazy. Like, best way to explain it. Like, I'm not actually lazy, it's just I try to do these things before I stream, or like on days that I don't stream, but I'm so tired that a lot of times I just don't actually do that. Like, I get home and I'm like, I don't want to fucking do anything. I just get in bed and fall asleep. Like, it took me like, I think it took me like 2 months to get that what's going on to get set up. And like, I literally had the video downloaded and in sound alerts for like a month. I just didn't cut it down until literally today, but I obviously forgot to mess with the volume. I'm just tired. Like, I hate to be that person. Like, that say I'm tired for like as like an excuse. But like, I just am. Like, not everyone has infinite energy to, you know, to do work than personal stuff than stream stuff. Like, not everyone has that. Kudos to the people that do. That's not me. Like, I don't like thinking of myself. I'm not lazy, but like, sometimes I feel like I'm lazy because there's a lot of voices out there, probably that aren't streamers, that just straight up say like, oh, if you're not doing this, this, and this, you're a failure of a streamer. And I'm like, fuck, I must be bad then because I don't do any of this shit. Motherfucker, I work 10-hour days. I am just too tired to do anything on days that I work. How did that miss? How's any of this missing? Jesus Christ, bro. Please? Shit, I hit that. There you go. That doesn't even do anything. Oh, it does. No, it doesn't. What the fuck? Where am I going? Where the fuck am I going, motherfucker? Where am I going? Like, actually, because I thought that was where it was. Am I just gonna have to break all these things? Is that what they want? Oh, it's over here. Oh my fucking god. I literally did not see the star was in there. I'm a little bit of a dumbass. I took my dumb bitch juice today, I guess. I'm sorry. I pride myself on being smart, but apparently I'm a dumb bitch the past week. I apologize, Chad. I'm a fraud. I am not a smart dragon anymore. I should throw away my glasses toggle as we speak. Don't toggle the glasses as I said. I fucking want to throw them away. Not the rear end. I mean, I've just been tired lately. Like, without being too negative, like, I'm in a bad place physically. Like, I'm just tired. I look cute in them. Nuh-uh. +5 int. I think it's +5 int and -1 attraction. Unless you're a nerd and then it's like +100 or something. You're keeping them? I know I will. I'm not getting rid of them. They're actually how my glasses look for real. Rin is studious. Does that mean I'm a late surger? I feel like I'd be more of a pace chaser. Ow, that thing hit me. You look cuter than Hush? No. You, by this point, and all of you guys should know that a lot of times I can't take a compliment, but sometimes it's also I say it to get a rise out of you guys. How much Starburst do you want? I'm assuming it's 30 because it's like right here. Yeah, okay. I don't have 30 yet, but I can probably get it if I have, which I do. Where's the nearest thing to blow it up with, though? That means it's true? It might mean it's true. You don't know that. How the fuck do I break this? The fuck? Oh, it's over there. Time to go on a killing spree! Bonk. I need to grab the star bits because he needs 30. I still think the best ever Mario power-up music is, oh, if you disagree with me, you're just wrong. Metal Cap from Super Mario 64. I'm stuffed. That's just like how I look in real life every time I eat, like a fat motherfucker. But I'm not cute in the slightest. You guys buying it? Where it gets stuffed? Yeah, stuffed crust. Oh no, it's this motherfucker. This is the ammo depot, not a garbage dump. What, do people think you just toss their trash here and magically disappear? Hey, we have plenty of bombs. Maybe kids can blow up all this trash or... I know how to do this and it pisses me off that I know how to do this because the funny thing is, I think I know this from fucking Game Grumps. I missed the throw there. Oh, it reached. If you're wondering, oh, that was actually not a good throw. I'm not gonna make it now because this thing's not gonna blow up in time. It reached the other one. Shit. The reason I was gonna say I know how to do it is you have to land it on the coin things. I know I got it. I just missed a shot. The UI didn't come up. Dan Avidan's in your corner. Listen, if Lee Daniel Avidan gets to be in my corner, I will be starstruck because I bought their first cover album, Under the Covers, and it's signed by Dan and Daniel Avidan, or I guess it's actually Danny Sixbang rather than Danny Avidan, and also by Ninja Brian. So like I have that. Take this. I just found it lying around. I'm pretty sure I learned this because of Game Grumps, surprisingly. Back when I used to watch them as a very, I'm not gonna say stupid, but impressionable young adult. I don't really watch them much these days. I don't watch much like gaming channels anymore. I still do every now and then, but not much. Watching their Nuzlocke. They have, yeah, I saw they have a Nuzlocke, huh? They're bad. I'm honestly pretty sure they're playing it up. Like, legitimately, I think they're playing it up. As in, like, they're not reading anything, they're not doing any preparation. Like, they're probably just playing the game and calling it a Nuzlocke, and they're struggling because of that. Which is, you know, what people are endeared to them for, but you know, it just, to people who want to watch an actual quote-unquote competent Nuzlocke, it's obviously not gonna be a good watch for them. I don't really like Nuzlocks. Like, I don't like the self-imposed challenge of, hey, if my Pokemon dies, I don't get to use it anymore. I like the idea of using Pokemon. I don't like the idea that I can't use a Pokemon. Now, remember, I do have that playthrough of Violet where I am playing a playthrough of Pokemon Violet where I can't use certain Pokemon. I think that's a little different. Like, they're in the game, I could technically use them if I just wanted to say fuck it and get rid of my own rule, but like at the same time, I'm forcing myself to use different Pokemon, but they're still there. Yeah, exactly. It's the boys, it's the lads. It's the internet grandfathers because they've been around for so long. At a time where a lot of YouTubers are calling it quits because, you know, maybe stress, maybe they've made their bag and just want to retire, or other reasons, like they're still around. Which is actually crazy because, yeah, they've been around for a very long time. Starbucks. Like, yeah, I personally, I don't like Nuzlocks. That's just me. But people can do them. I personally won't really ever do that. I think the part that pisses me off the most about people that do like Nuzlocke challenges or anything like that is people that do them motherfucking day one. It's like, you don't know what's out there. You don't know what Pokemon are cool, Pokemon are not. You just do it because you want to say, I did the world's first Pokemon Blade Nuzlocke. Like, the amount of people I guarantee are gonna do a Winds and Wave Nuzlocke day one, and are probably gonna have to quote unquote redo the game, it's probably gonna be pretty high. Oh my god, I fucking destroyed this planet. I don't know. That's just me being jaded. That fucking everything these days is having to be a challenge. Like, why can't you just play game day one? Just play, have fun. I think I missed. I almost fucking missed.
Oh, yeah.
795. God, this thing's always so off center when I land. One more. Is it a boss or is it something else? It is Top Maniac and the Topman Tribe. That's a boss. I think I know who that boss is too. Oh my god, I think it's, yep, it's another, I think it's another boss they borrow in Super Mario Galaxy 2 in the further stages. Nothing wrong with that. I just think it's funny that like a lot of these bosses, I'm just like, oh, I know where this character's from. This character's in like, ooh, it's a Monty Mall. Fuck you, Monty. Montius Molus. What the fuck? That enemy is scary as fuck, let me be honest. Like, can I blow this up? I can. Get fucked, buddy. Ow, how was that still up? Bitch, I killed the guy. God, fuck this Luma. He's like, I'm gonna pull a prank on Mario. Oh, sweet freedom. Transform! I wonder, can these Lumas turn into anything, or is it just launch stars? I like this gimmick. I love this gimmick. Whee! Ow! Like ships in the night. How the fuck? Ooba. Bubba. Wee. Uh-oh. I fucked up. Oh, there's lava down there. Lava rising, or is it just there? I think it's just there. Beanie, beanie, beanie. Whee. It's a big boy. It's a laser lad. I don't know what this guy's name is, but I'm officially calling him a laser lad. Intruder alert. Intruder alert. Gender, laser lad, yeah. Listen, why is there no laser themed VTubers? Thank you very much. Listen, get a laser themed VTuber with a cat themed partner, and you've got a match made in heaven right there. What the fuck? Eddie came, man. I thought genies were cool. Work out a lot. I'm just saying. I just think of these ideas. They're not very good. I say random bullshit. None of my ideas are good. Your ideas are amazing. No, you fucking liar. Oh my god. Your design and my streams are immaculate. I don't know. I feel like my designs and my streams are what some harsh critics would call uninspired. Big boys. I just killed myself. Now, that's not the word I would use. I'm just saying some motherfuckers would say that. But would an uninspired person do this? Yeah, you heard me.
Oh, yeah.
I like doing the fact that it puts you out of order. Oh, the nice even 900. Alrighty, it's probably gonna be the last thing for the night, I think. Because I'm. Oh wait. There's a comment. Dragon milk. That'll be my gamer subs flavor. I lost. All right, Tano. Relax. Oh, it's not actually up. Huh? That's weird. It shows it, but it's not up yet. Anyway. My gamer slips later to be gamer, so don't they already kind of have something like that? I guess they have like gamer girl sweat, I think, right? Or is it gamer? No, it's gamer girl thighs, I think. Ugh. Honestly, I think by the time I'm big enough to get like a gamer, like an actual gamer sponsorship, I think Dragon Milk will already be taken. There's a lot of dragon themed VTubers that are well beyond my scope. Also, I love how this is just Bowser in the Dark World, just redone. It's very quiet, but it's there. Oh my god. I could not actually move there. Mario forced me to move into the downward gravity. Oh my god. That's fine. Not okay. Okay, we're okay. Jump. I have to jump there, huh? I guess I could probably long jump over there. That's fine. Arr. Get thwomped. Get thwomped. Get thwomped. Get thwomped. Thwomped, idiot. Oh my god, the camera angle almost fucked me there. Oh my god, I thought that hit me. Go, 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 go. I love how every single iteration of Bowser after the the OG in 64 has better and better looking hair. It's kind of fucking nuts to me. Whoa, you finally made it. Let me try to do my best Jack Black impression. Just in time for me to stomp you into space bits. Ah, look, it's Jack Black. He's in the stream. Oh, you missed. Oh my god, Jack Black. It wasn't looking. Bye-bye, motherfucker. What happened to Tenacious D? Fuck if I know. Aren't they still around? Like, actually? They stopped going on tours. I mean, they are older. Oh, Jack Black ended things because of his partner making that joke. I understand. Like, I understand both sides, as in, like, you know, I don't necessarily like Donald Trump either, but I would absolutely never wish death on anybody. I would. It depends on the person, I guess. You're actually right. I would too. Depends on the person. I wouldn't say never. There's probably somebody that I would dislike enough for that. How? Foolish Mario. My plan is too far along now. You really think you can stop me? I mean, I stopped you now, and I stole one of your Grand Stars. Fascist dictators deserve. Yep. I agree. Same thing for people wishing others harm. You got a Grand Star! Wahoo! He was just spinning on your back on down. Literally, Mario was running circles on him. Collapsed of power. Oh, whoa. And break. Ooh, we're a green star now. The brick house is open. 26 out of, if that's 120, we're at roughly 20% done. They've been reading One Piece for years and they're pretty clear on this shit. Yeah, that's true. You rescued another Grand Star and power has returned to another dome in the back of the observatory. But I still don't think we have the star power to fly the observatory to the universe. The villain who kidnapped her special one took her far from here to the center of the universe. Once our star power is restored, the observatory will be able to go there. Then you can reunite with your special one. Hang on, there's apparently a comet over here. If so, let's do that before we finish up. Welcome back from the ads, by the way. Oh, there's one. There, now it's in orbit. It wasn't actually up before. Also, I don't want to alarm anybody, but my follower account currently has the number 67 in it, and I hate it. But also, thank you guys for the follows. Got an ad about taxes and potatoes. Do you live in Idaho? Or Oregon? Daredevil. Oh, I'm at 1 health then.
Yes.
This is gonna be fun. I didn't even beat this boss damage list before. 420, 670. I really don't think 6-7 is that funny. I'm not gonna lie. All right, this is gonna be a really slow boss because I'm gonna take my sweet time with him. Roku Nana. Isn't it Rokuhachi? Or is Nana another way to say 7? It was never funny, but I'm glad it's dead. Yeah. I agree, it was never funny. Oh my god, I almost killed myself there. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Funny thing is, I saw those 6-7 emotes and I was like, should I get one? But I'm like, it's already too late by the fact that it's out there. Oh, I can read Rosalina's library. We'll take care of that later. Save and quit though. Want to make sure it's saved before I turn this fucking game off. Meme is dead and I'm just beating its course. Thank you. Make sure we're at 27. Perfect. We will go back over here. Let me turn my music back on for a second. What song is this? It's called Feeling Hot. I have no idea where this song's from, by the way. Like, I legitimately don't know where this song is from. Alright, I am done for now, guys. I will be back tomorrow with DK64. We're really close to the end over there, by the way. I don't know what else to say. I've just been kind of tired. I might just go to bed a little early. Anyway, yeah, I will be back tomorrow around the same time. Yeah, so feel free to drop by tomorrow around the same time for DK64. Thanks for stream. Thanks for being here, guys. A lot of you, especially the new guys. Those of you who are new, thank you guys for the follows. I promise to try to make more funny tweets that brought you guys over here. What else? Mine's kind of empty. That's a sign for me to just go to bed. All right. One kiss for you all. Bye-bye, good night, and see you guys tomorrow.